Hello, 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 everybody out there. Hello. How are you doing? I hope you're amazing. It's a great day to have a great day because why not? And if you're not already having a great day, I am hoping that this moment in time right here is about to shift your mindset, is about to reset your atmosphere, is about to move you into the space where you're ready to be more positive and productive than you felt just a little while ago. Even if you were in a great space, I hope this brings you to a better place. And I am so excited today. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And for those of you all who are like, lady, who are you? I'm so glad you asked. I am Dr. Anita, and I am the founder and visionary of The Refining Life. The Refining Life is a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to provide you with experiences to have your mindset shifted so that you can lead a more positive and productive life. And while we are getting ready to have a moment of honor, it is an auspicious occasion. Do not get it twisted. It is that. We also hope this is the experiences that uplift you. It's not all about us. The reason why we're here and the reason why we do what we do is to serve others and to shift the lives of others. So I'm so excited today. So the Refining Life has been in existence since 2015. And in 2016, we decided to honor 7 beautiful women of refinement. They came from all walks of life, from survivors to motivators, to women who are nurturers, to the confident ones, the leaders. And we just wanted to honor them for all the amazing things that they do for women in our communities. They were all women of color, Black women, and they stand for so many amazing things. In 2018, we did it again. We honored 5 more women. And here we are. We've made it through a piece of a pandemic. I can't say it's over yet because, yeah, that just would not be true. If you're still toting a mask, we're still in a pandemic. Yes, we are. But we have a wonderful honor to come to you this year in 2022 and honor 7 more amazing women. These 7 women will fall into our 7 areas of programmatic thrust for the Refining Life. And the first one is community and relationships. The woman I'm getting ready to bring to you today, when you say stunning, think stunning on the inside first, and it glows to the outside. So I'm so excited to bring her to you. So what I'm going to do is get myself a little bit further back and not waste any time. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our 2022 Community and Relationships Woman of Refinement, Ms. Omisade Burney-Scott. There she is!
Hello, good evening. Hello, everybody. Thank
Yes,
you so much, Dr. Anita. That was a lovely introduction. I appreciate you.
Oh, you are so very welcome. And so it is all true. It's easy to present you because it's nothing I have to make up. Like it is what it is. You are who you are.
Thank you.
But I'm going to step out of the way for a moment and
Okay.
allow you to tell the people a little bit more about you.
Sure.
So here you are.
Okay, great. Oh, hi, everybody. My name is Omisade Burney-Scott. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am greeting you from the occupied land of the Occaneechi-Sapona Nation, also known as Durham, North Carolina. I am a daughter of Eastern North Carolina. My folks are from New Bern, back 7 generations. So I am a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a niece, I'm a mother, I'm a friend. I'm also a community activist and advocate and a creative. And so my work for the last 25, 30 years has looked like social justice in the areas of racial justice, gender justice, reproductive justice, and more recently have had an opportunity to engage in culture and narrative shift work as it relates to menopause and aging by centering the stories of Black women, women identified and gender expansive people with my multimedia project, which is called the Black Girl's Guide to Surviving Menopause, because we deserve an opportunity to engage in intentional conversations about menopause and aging, recognizing that oftentimes women's health, women's bodies are problematized and pathologized, and certainly Black women's bodies are so. And so we are reclaiming that space, and we're creating an intergenerational conversation for folks to be able to talk about what this is like for them, and also doing advocacy work to kind of increase the opportunities for intersectional research and policy change. So I'm really excited to be a part of this conversation. I am a storyteller in my heart of hearts and enjoy storytelling, so I always embed that in any of the work that I do. And I'm also a mom of two fantastic Black boys. Well, one's not a boy. Actually, neither one of them are boys anymore. One will be 30 and the other one will be 14. So they are my pride and joy, and probably the best thing I've ever done in my entire life. So I'm really grateful to be here. And I'm really honored to be a woman of refinement for community and relationships, which has been the crux of the work that I've done in social justice. Is like figuring out how we can be in community and co-conspirers with each other to engage in social justice and equity work to liberate our people from systemic oppression. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so let's just go here. If everybody out there, do you ever have, or do you have a person who you are, every single time you talk to them, you just get giddy? Omisade is that person. Oh my goodness. From the moment I met you, and so here's our story.
Here's our story. I was going to ask you, are you going to tell the story? Or are you
I'm telling it. I'm telling it. So I talk about community and relationships. I met this beautiful woman, Dr. Patrice Carter, at Women's Empowerment, which for a long time, even I guess still now, it was an annual event in North Carolina. And another beautiful woman, Yolanda Rabin, encouraged me to go. And another beautiful woman, Chanel Ratliff, gave me a ticket to go, which I didn't know I was getting. Like all of this became a sequence of events that was spoken about and came into fruition. Mm-hmm. So get there, meet Patrice. Patrice decided she was going to introduce me to Angelique Stallings. So we met at the BU Cafe in Durham, North Carolina, my hometown, Bull City, all day, every day. So we're sitting there, we're having this wonderful connection conversation. Both of these women I have been blessed to know, still in communication with. And there was this beautiful woman sitting at a table, and we were staring. It was, oh, girl, look at her. And she had on this beautiful white dress, beautiful brown skin. I mean, you can tell she moisturizes, honey. She does not play about hydration. So she's moisturized, but her hair, beautiful, almost white gray, full fro, but like pent to a side, and like, whoo, and we were staring. And I mean, like, it became part of the conversation. We're talking about all these other things, and then she would come back up. How old do you think she is? You know what? I bet she's like 20. Oh, because Black don't crack. Oh, girl, do you see it? Look at that dress. She is gorgeous. I bet she thinks we're stalkers. So then, after like we've been sitting there like an hour, she's sitting there alone, enjoying. I don't know if he was having tea or coffee.
I probably was having a chai tea. That was my thing that I would always get at BU Cafe. So that's probably.
Right. So she's sitting over there doing whatever she does and being stared at. And it just came to a point, and I just said, ladies, we have got to go talk to her. Because we were getting ready to leave. It looked like she was getting ready to leave, and we've been stalking this woman for like an hour and a half. So I said, I'm going. Who's with me? It's like, tip, tip, tip. Excuse me. I know you think that we might be stalking you, or maybe you've noticed the staring, but you are absolutely gorgeous. And that is how I met Omi.
That's right. It was a very sweet interaction. It was not a weird stalker, like your reflection of that. You were not stalker-y at all. It was very much one of the really sweet things I think that Black women do with each other, where we see each other and we love up on each other. And we were just like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're doing today, but you are blessing us. And the fact we will do that in the bank, at a coffee shop, standing in line at the grocery store. And I love that about us. Like, it's one of the sweet things that we do. We look out for each other. We spy each other, and we say, I see you. Look at you. Oh my goodness. You smell so good. You look so good. Where are you going? I love when we do that. It's one of my favorite things that we do with each other.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing. And I think that while I love that we do that, we also have the flip side of that where there's cultural shifts
Mm-hmm.
where it seems to be some of our young ladies are getting in a space where it's tough for
Mm-hmm.
them to do that
Yeah.
because they're worried about labels or they're worried about other people's acceptance or non-acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can start here.
Sure.
Uh, Thinking about that. And we're thinking about, all the people we are hoping to shift their mindset today. Because
Right.
I think that it doesn't start like I have daughters who are 11 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
They see me all the time. My daughter cracks up. My 11-year-old thinks I make friends with every single drive-through worker that there is at any drive-through
Uh-huh. I'm
restaurant.
sure you do. I'm sure
She
that you.
said, "How are you friends with them? Do you know them?" No, I don't know them, but they were very pleasant. So let's talk. So
Mm-hmm.
they're getting an example of somebody constantly pouring into other people positively.
That's right.
But in the society of likes
Mm-hmm.
and competition for attention, they don't always do that.
Right.
So, in our desire to keep this part of our culture alive, I think about all the other, we have festivals and we, share foods and oral stories and do all of these things to keep portions of our culture alive, even though, some things die because they just get lost.
Sure.
I think this is a beautiful part of who we are as Black women.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful part of building relationships because I don't know when I would have met you because I do believe we were destined to connect. Because of
We
course,
were. And then eventually you became my son's principal.
I know. And
Right?
how
So we were definitely predestined to connect. And then our worlds did like this. They became even more enmeshed and even more connected. So, I feel like the universe is a masterful ear hustler. Like it knows how people should be coming together and will co-conspire to like nudge you in each other's line of vision. So, we've likely been around each other before that moment and just didn't see each other. And then once we saw each other, we would always see each other, and I would be like, "Hey, how you doing?" You'd be like, "Hey, how you doing?" So that click, I feel like is a very divine click that can happen for people.
absolutely. But we're inspiring young women.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best way to help them understand one, the need for that type of interaction, two, that it's okay to do it?
Right, right. So, a couple things. There's something you said about tradition and culture. There are some parts of our culture and tradition that we should unlearn, right?
Right,
Some of the things that were given to us as a result of white supremacy or patriarchy, we should unlearn, right?
right.
And I think that some of the competition pieces is an exemplar of that. Whereas, like, there's a deliberateness in keeping us in competition with each other. There's a deliberateness where we might size each other up because the messages that you've received is that Black women as a whole are not valuable and shouldn't be
Mhm.
protected. And then whatever your own personal story is can amplify that or minimize that, right? And so I think it's important for us to be conscientious of the fact that a lot of us have our own journey and our own stories around who we are as Black women, who we were as Black girls. And I think the invitation then comes to like, how do you give yourself permission to like turn off that internal noise that has you second guessing whether or not you're going to speak to someone or connect with someone, and that a simple hello or a simple nod of appreciation is such an easy thing to do, right? It
Mhm.
doesn't cost you a thing. Being kind doesn't cost you a thing. I flirt with old people and babies all the time. So I grew up with sisters, and I have two older brothers as well, but they're like four girls. So, but I have sons, and my sons will say the same thing that your daughters say. Like, you speak to everybody. You are constantly having conversations
Mhm.
with everybody, and I'm like, I'm not having conversations. It's like, yes, you are, mom. You're like the mayor. But I want people to be appreciated. One of my favorite things to do is if I see an elder sister at the bank and she has put on her going to the bank outfit, oh, I'm gonna acknowledge that. So
Yes.
I'm gonna wait until the time is right, and then I'm just gonna ease in like we've got a secret, and I'm gonna say, I see you. Where are you going today? You looking jazzy. This whole situation is jazzy. Like it's a secret, our secret. And 9 times out of 10, you'll get a like, I mean, Yeah. I'm like, "I see you. I want you to have a fantastic day. Keep shining all over Durham." And they're like,
Yeah.
"Thank you." I'm like, "You're welcome." It's such an easy thing. You don't even know if you've lifted someone's mood. I don't even know what mood I might have perhaps been in that day when y'all just gifted me with a lot of love to a stranger. Right? I don't know. I don't remember my mood. I definitely recall the genuineness of y'all's kind of expression of appreciation for my adornment and how I was showing up as a brown Black woman. I was like, "Oh, I feel thank you. That felt great. That was lovely." You know? And I still desire that, and we should desire that and expect that and, receive that no matter our age. You know, I'll be 55 in April.
Whew, and
It doesn't matter. Thank you. I appreciate that. It doesn't matter how old you get, it doesn't matter how young you are. We all deserve to be seen. You know, Dr. Yaba Blaine, one of my favorite people in the world, who, is always out here talking about us as Black women. It talks about
Mhm.
Black people all the time, but she talks about us as Black women. She reminds us that sisterhood is a verb.
Yes.
It is a verb. This is an actionable thing that you can do daily to be in relationship with other Black women. And
Yes.
remembering that if you're challenged by that, there's a design that has been put in place for you to be challenged. And if
Yes.
you want to just detach from that and start working on your unlearning, you can be supported with, yeah, do that.
Do that.
Mhm.
I love that. I'm actually writing it down. Yaba blood. I think that it's something that we all need to remember and we all can do.
Mhm.
It's something we can do. And since people are meant to be interconnected. Like we were made to be interconnected with one another.
That's
And
right.
there's so many amazing things that we can do individually. Don't get me wrong. We were created in our own likeness to do all of these immense things, being to be big and huge in whatever the thing we were blessed to do.
Sure.
But it is something about when you take your thing and you connect it to another person's thing,
Mhm.
and then y'all get together, and y'all might get together with 50 other people.
That's right.
How much brighter that thing shines.
That's
It
right.
is still, it doesn't take anything away from your piece of the thing.
No, it doesn't. No,
It's
it doesn't.
just the thing
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And so you've touched on this a little bit, but I guess in a more broad sense,
Mhm.
because of course you're not just connected to Black women, even though
Mhm.
you're connected to a lot of Black women.
Mhm.
How do you go about forming relationships and your maybe mental and maybe even physical process of
Mhm.
choosing who to relate to?
Sure, sure. Well, I am naturally an extroverted person. I think that as I've gotten older, I've become more of an ambivert. I feel like um, getting older has gifted me with a wisdom of my body that I need more time to decompress. I need more time to restore my energy. I don't have the same energy that I used to have as a younger person. And so while I'm still very, very social as we can be in the midst of, 6 feet and mask,
Right.
um, I still like connecting with people. I'm a very curious person. I love learning new things. I love experiencing new things and new culture. So I'm a naturally curious person. So it's not hard for me to be observant in a space and decide I'm going to speak on something. I've never been shy. I'm never in a way that would be obvious to people. Like I think that my shyness would surprise people in a different way. But when I show up in a space, whether it's a bookstore or a conference or a meeting or a Zoom, I don't come across as shy, and I try my best to find ways to connect with people. So you ask, like, well, what is it that I do? I pay attention to a person.
Mhm.
I'm checking you all the way out. So maybe this is my own little like lay anthropological study that I do when I'm out. Like, oh, this person really took the time. Oh, this person is very interesting. They're kind of quirky. Oh, they look artistic. Oh, person looks really studious. Or I take people all the way in, you
Mhm.
know, and I take them in from a place of like curiosity and or appreciation. Because sometimes when I'm taking someone in, I'm taking them in. I'm like, that's a challenging energy. I'm not sure how I want to interact with that. So I'm taking it in because I'm still trying to figure out like how I want to engage, or if I want to engage, because
Right.
it's not carte blanche that I'm going to engage with everybody. That's part of, like, I think, discernment, where you're like, this is really an interesting energy. I should probably go this way. And that's there too. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with them. It's illegible. It's really sharp. Let me go this way.
Right.
Without judging or shaming this person. I don't need to interact with you. Whereas there are other people who I'm just like, oh, their energy is so oh my goodness. And it doesn't take a thing to give someone a nod. I went to a PWI, I went to UNC Chapel Hill, and so, we became very proficient at the Black people nod.
Uh-huh.
And if you didn't get it, we would judge you. You'd be like, I know I just gave them and I didn't get anything back. Like it landed flat. Then I'm like, well, what's wrong?
Okay, so let me tell you, I speak that language as well because I also went to a PWI. I went to Elon. I started at G. It wasn't the school for me. Did my last 3 years at Elon, and that was very real. It was a sifting.
Yes, right? It's like a Hogwarts sorting hat.
Yes.
It's like, who are the Black folk on campus who want to be in relationship with other Black folk on campus versus the Black folk on campus who are like, I don't know if I even like being a Black person, and that might show up in a way that is like obvious, like I'm not acknowledging you. I'm not spending any time with you. It's all, part of, again, our own internalized oppression inside of a system that did not mean for us to survive or thrive. So I understand that, but that doesn't mean I have to be in relationship with you while you're doing your work or sorting that out. And so, it is absolutely the, or if you're in line at a bank and it's a whole lot of people, I love making eye contact with folks and going,
especially if something particularly interesting is happening at a counter.
If there's like a sharp exchange, I'll do the, because now we have a connection. We experience it together for this moment in time. You be well, I'll be well. Like, we go on our different ways. And then in a more deep way, like work-wise, because I consider myself a storyteller, I love stories. And so I will always invite someone to tell me their story. You are the expert of your story. I'm the expert of my story. So I would want to know your story. If we were working together, the first thing that I would want to do is know more about you, right? And that not only happens inside of the work I do in social justice, but also when I'm potentially partnering with someone around menopause awareness, or somebody who might be on the podcast, or I might be hosting an event or be on a webinar or something like that. The very first thing I will say, whether I've reached out to them or they've reached out to me, let's have a conversation first. Let's just spend 30 minutes having a conversation to get to know each other, to warm each other up in a way where you get to know me. Like, you have my bio, but are you more curious about like my journey, right? You have my vitae or my resume, but are you more curious about what makes me happy? Like, what am I invested in being, not necessarily what I do or what my title is. And if you're only interested in that, then sometimes it's a one and done. I'm like, okay, it's not that deep. One and done. We do this thing together. I wish you well. And then sometimes it goes deeper, and you're like, oh, there's a possibility here for a deeper connection, for some deeper work. But there has to be a willingness for folk to actually engage each other's personhood in a deeper way for that to happen. I'm always curious about, how do I fully engage your personhood?
Yeah. So one way that I got to know you even better, even though I am very grateful that, we exchanged cards after that very first meeting. And I reached a point in my life where I said, I am going to do the thing. I am going to email her now so that this connection continues. And so one of the things that I was blessed to find out about twice was your One Woman show.
That's right.
So I got to come to the first one and the second one.
That's right.
The second one was my first experience ever wearing blue lipstick.
And you look fantastic, by the way. Yeah.
But, because of our continued connection, and because, a simple thing as, as much of a curse as it can be, social media can be a blessing as well. And, I had an opportunity to continue to follow you.
Mm-hmm.
But sitting in that one woman show the first time, and I remember watching Heather dance
Yes.
at the beginning, and talk about setting the atmosphere and setting the stage, and then learning all of this about your story, and then coming back, what was it, 2 years later, and learning.
It was a year later. It was
It
a
was a
year
year
later.
later.
Yeah, yeah.
And learning even more about your story, having the chance to collect part of your story to hold to my heart
Oh,
was a beautiful thing. But what
thank
I also did was observe your village,
mm,
because the people who came the first time, a lot of them returned, but they weren't all the same people who came the second time.
that's right.
And I saw the difference in the color of the rainbow that second time. I
Yeah.
think that more people were open to it,
Yeah.
and it was a little bit of a different demographic.
Yeah.
And so seeing the multiple pieces of your village, but everybody having the same feel.
Mm,
Here, we love Omi. She's amazing. We can't wait to learn more. Nobody was there out of the I'm being nosy. It was the, oh yeah, come on, sister, tell me more. Whether, no matter who they were,
uh-huh.
they just were so immersed into you, and you created all these connections with these people, and they were all so different.
Mhm.
So when I think about that, it's almost, and this is not, don't people watching, don't make this weird, but it's gonna sound weird when I say it, because it sounds weird in my
Y'all don't be weird, okay? Go ahead. Go ahead.
So my question is, how do you collect people?
Oh,
And how do you collect new people? Because it's easy to collect people who just, you can just feel it, see it. That's tribe. That's gonna be tribe. I'm ready for this. It's like the double Dutch rope. You see it going, and you just go jump in. But there's sometimes you got to collect new people, and
mm,
that's not always easy to do, especially when you run in limited circles.
mm.
But you do a whole podcast that has like the people on it. Like, this is the people. Like, this is not just your homegirl from down the street. When I saw, I'm like, Stacey London. Like, all and there have been several other guests. If you haven't seen the Black Girls or listened to the Black Girls Guide to Menopause, jump on it. But like, you have the guests, and so you are constantly collecting new people, and having that opportunity to kind of do that test run to decide if they're going to stay in your circles and where they will lie in your
Mhm.
concentric circles of life. I believe there's circles, like they go from a center circle out, and there are a bunch of concentric circles in your life,
Absolutely.
and you
Absolutely.
choose where these people lie.
That's right.
But how do you get to new people when you aren't always right there with the new people?
Sure, sure. Well, I love this concentric circle visual. I have a really big personality, and I have a bright, I think, personality that attracts people and also freaks people out.
Right. I know that. I know that feeling.
It's fine. It's fine. I understand that. And so, my closest friends are like my cousin, who I've known my entire life, but also like my girlfriends who I've known like 30, 40 years or more, right? Like my tight circle. And then when you start to band out from there, folk who I have done work with consistently, healing work, social justice work, creative work, those folk who we ideate with and we are thought partners and we are collaborators, and they're bringing something to the table that I don't know how to do, or they're turning me on to something new, and or I'm turning them on to something new. Like, we click in a way, like I feel like that's the next circle of people, folk who are consistently willing to throw down with me, whether that's let's throw down because some kind of injustice keeps
Right.
occurring and we want to address it both proactively and we also want to be responsive. Or let's do this creative thing like Angel Dozier. Like, so Angel
Yeah.
worked with me on both of the one woman shows. And Angel just thinks she's a visionary. She's a manifester. And so when we connected, she told me, she said, "You're going to write a book." I was like, "I'm not going to." She's like, "You're going to write a book, but not yet, because you're going to do a one woman show first." And I was like, okay, okay. She said, and you're going to talk about you and your relationship to mothering and some of the learning and unlearning you've done as a Black mother. And I was like, okay. And it was like this wild moment. And I'm sure other people who might be listening to this conversation have had that, where somebody speaks something over you and you're just kind of like, she spoke it with such clarity and confidence.
Right.
I feel like I had no choice but to trust her. Right. You know, it felt so genuine. It felt spiritual. And so those folk who were in that band out from my immediate circle of friends and family are those kind of people where I'm like, this is a spiritual connection. I know that we are supposed to be doing really important work for our people. Right. And then there's another circle out of folk who I enjoy their company. We are very social. We may not ever do anything together. If we do, it might be very sporadic, every now and again, or we might not. But I genuinely, when I see them, I'm genuinely happy to see them. And genuinely, when I see them, I hope that they're well. Right? Like, I really wish them well. I want them to be well. I want things to be well with them individually, with their family, with their community, and if I don't see them for another 6 months or a year, the next time I see them, I'm like, how are you? And I really mean that. Like, how are you good? I'm so glad you're good. And if you're not good, like, I would lend my ear to have a conversation with them around what's challenging and be like, you know what? I love to connect people with resources. So if someone says to me, Omi, I'm having this particular issue or this particular issue, I'd be like, you know what? I feel like you should talk to so and so. And I often will connect people and say, I'm going to send an email to introduce y'all because I feel like y'all should connect. And then this really interesting, complex relationship with social media, right? Where there are people who I have connected with on social media I have never met in my entire life. Have never met, never seen physically, but I so enjoy our banter on social media. I look for them, social media is kind of like a playground. Sometimes some stuff's going on. I'm like, oh, they're getting ready to fight. Don't want to, or something provocative. Oh, what's happening right now? That's interesting. Or something funny or something spiritual or something that gets me riled up. But if there's somebody who I've been connecting with and I don't see them, I'm like, where's my friend? And I might go in their DMs, be like, I have not seen you. Are you okay? So that kind of thing. And it's a really interesting way that these relationships kind of ebb and flow. I'm also very clear about who my core people are. I'm not confused by that. I'm not confused about who I can call at 3:00 in the morning and be like, I need you to get up, I need to talk to you, or I need you to come to me, or I need to come to you. Like if they call me and be like, Omi, I'm like, I'm in the car, girl. In the car.
Yep.
Vice versa. So I'm very clear about who those people are. And they have been the same people for quite some time. That doesn't mean that new people might not be able to engage me in that way, but I'm also very clear about who my core people are.
Absolutely. Literally, I have flown across oceans to get to people.
Listen.
All I have to hear is the right intonation in your voice.
Right. You're like, I'm on my way.
Yep. I have a very good friend of mine. She was planning an event and she was getting very frustrated due to others.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hold on, let me call you right back. And I'm sure at that moment she was like, I was just pouring out to you. What are you doing?
What's going on?
I called her back probably 30 minutes later. I said, can you have somebody at the airport at 7:00 in the morning?
Because I'm coming to you.
I said, because I've just booked my flight. I just need to know if I need to get a cab or if I need to, somebody's going to pick me up. I'm going to be there in the morning.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
She was like, are you crazy? Yep.
He said, I am about you. I am about you. My best friend from high school, we have been friends 40 years this year. 40 years. I met her in 1982 when I was in the 9th grade. And
that was a beautiful year.
Say what?
It was a beautiful year, 1982.
Is that your birthday?
It is. It produced some great people.
It did. It did. And when my mom passed away when I was 31, and I remember calling Lee, and I said, honey, I need to let you know mommy's not long for the world. And she said, I'm on my way. I didn't even tell her. My mother transitioned at Wake Med in Raleigh. I didn't even tell her what hospital I was in. All I said was, "Mommy's not long for the world. We're at the hospital." And she said, "I'm on my way." And not 5 minutes after my mother took her last breath, I could hear, because my girlfriend has a very distinctive walk, and I could hear her walking down the hall. And I said to the night nurse, I said, "That's my friend Leanne. Let her know we're in here." And he peeked out. He said, "Are you Lee?" She said, "Yes." And she said, "Come on in." She said, "Did I make it?" I said, "You're right on time. You're right on time, honey." And so we have that kind of connection and relationship, right? That bond is so important to me, and we've had ups and downs like any relationship. I think that sometimes we think that intimacy is only relegated to our romantic relationships or partnerships or marriages. But the
Right.
intimacy that you experience with your chosen family, with your girlfriends, with your chosen sisters is so important to know that you can go through hard times just like any other relationship, and you can choose to stay with each other, or sometimes you can choose to go your separate ways. you know?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And that can be scary, especially when you are releasing people
Yeah.
who you may have had a very deep connection with. I think of, actually I was having one of my friends who we've been friends now for over 20 years because we met at Elon, and we were having this whole conversation about the way we met and the person who we met through. We neither one of us are overly connected, like really tight with her anymore.
Mhm.
Just like you said, we always wish her the best. If I see her, like, girl, I'm so glad you're well. But we are really close now. I mean, like super duper duper duper. She's one of those, "Hey, I'm already here. I heard you. I'm already here. I've driven 5 hours. I've
Yeah.
arrived."
Yeah.
And, you know, we talk about how that release happens in different ways.
Sure.
And it can be very scary. It can be very scary and almost make you feel guilty
Right.
for letting go. But really understanding that that let go is not just for you, it's for them too.
Right. Right.
Understanding that you're allowing them place and space for the rest of their relationships, for the rest of the community they need to be attached
That's
to.
right. That's
And
right.
you're doing that for yourself. It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, thinking about going into it, and this will probably be one of the last questions we go to, and then I want you to wrap up with something, but I'll tell you what it is.
Okay.
Um, Thinking about fear and unknown, because fear keeps us in places where we shouldn't be, and also I think sometimes keeps us from places where we should.
Mhm.
With the idea of community and relationships and dealing with this whole, I know my people. I know, like I have a core four. They know
Mhm.
who they are. They're
Mhm.
my core. Um, but some of these people I don't know. And I
Mhm.
find myself in places sometimes where I don't have a connecting point either. Like it's just me.
Mhm.
And where I can connect with the person at the drive-through window, I am good at that. Sometimes it's even as an extrovert. So I tell people all the time, I'm an introverted extrovert at times, which my cousin hands down fussed me out and told me there was no way on earth that was really me. She doesn't want to believe it.
Sure.
I grew up as an only child. I do me because I don't always need others
Sure.
in my space. But sometimes when I get into these new places, I find myself mentally having to make decisions, like hard, fast decisions. What am I getting ready to do?
Mhm.
What character am I going to play in this moment? Am
Mhm.
I getting ready to be a full-on introvert? Because
Mhm.
I don't know anybody here,
Mhm.
especially when you get in situations where people don't look like you.
Mhm. Mhm.
They're not expressing culture like you do.
Mhm.
But you
Right.
still need to sometimes put that foot out there, get your foot in the door, start making connections because we connect with everybody.
Right.
When you're thinking about the unknown and people dealing with that type of fear, what
Mhm.
advice would you give somebody who needs to kind of just go into the unknown?
Going into the unknown. Hmm. This is interesting that you asked this question because my cousin teases me. She said, "You will always say, 'Ooh, cousin, I was scared and I did it anyway.'" That's it. So I'm not suggesting that people do that. No, because you also I have had a lot of what people would call butt to concrete lessons. It is what it is. But I'm grateful for those lessons, and I'm also grateful for the wisdom that can come from those lessons, right? I think that fear is complex because where that fear derives from has all to do with who you are,
Right.
right? So I can't say that what might elicit fear for you or someone else in taking a risk or allowing themselves to think differently about what they can do or what they want to learn how to do or where they want to live or what kind of work they want to do. Um, it all has to do with your understanding of yourself and your origin story. So, me and my boys are absolutely like Marvel comic nerds and we love graphic novels and stuff like that. And every antagonist or anti-hero has an origin story.
Right.
Every villain has an origin story, right? So here goes my curiosity again. Like, what's the origin story that precipitated or facilitated the villainy of this character, or the anti-hero, like I don't want to be a hero but I keep saving people, or that they are clear that they're the protagonist and they lean into this hero's journey, right? Like what's your origin story? And I think that the fear that we move within the world um is an invitation for you to be clear about your own origin story, your personal origin story, who you are as an individual, the family that you grew up in, the community that you grew up in, the friendships, the education, all of those things. And also your origin story as a person. I'm talking specifically about Black folk. Like, what's our origin story in this country that will put us in close relationship with moments that fearful, right?
Mhm.
Rightfully so, right? Fearful for what might happen to our bodies, right? Fearful what might happen to the bodies of people we love, fearful what might happen to our opportunities. Like those fears are not unfounded. But the thing that you get to do when that fear kind of comes in your head is you get to kind of truth tell yourself in that moment around like, is this an old fear that actually is not accurate? Like if you're having a moment of fear and you're like, that's an old fear that actually it's not true anymore. Why did that fear just show up right now in this moment where I'm about to do something that feels risky? Case in point, I decided to take a sabbatical from social justice work at the end of 2018. I was like, I'm crispy, I'm fried, I'm exhausted. I've been doing this work now for such a long time. I don't know if I want to continue to do this work. So in 2019, I was going to take a year sabbatical. But I also was like, how am I going to pay my mortgage and my bills and feed the, growing little one who still lives in my house? And my eldest son said, you should ask for support from the community that you've been supporting all these years.
Mhm.
And I was like, folk are not going to do that, Che. He was like, I put money on it. And so I put together a Patreon and said, I'm going to take a sabbatical. It's going to be a creative sabbatical. I really want to birth something creative that's just for me. And folk were so generous with me, Renita. It was just mind blowing. I was so frightened. Part of that fear was like, you don't deserve rest, right?
Mm.
You don't deserve rest.
Mm.
As Black women, we don't deserve rest. The only time that we rest is when we're sick, when we have evidence of like having exerted ourselves to the point of exhaustion. And then folk go, girl, you should rest. But they want to know everything you've done before you rest. So that
Like
way
to
rest,
earn it. Like
you
you
have,
gotta earn the rest.
it has to be deserved. You can't proactively be resting. You can't. You have to give me the whole rundown. Well, what you been up to? And then after you exhaust me with what has exhausted you, then I'm like, girl, you should rest. As opposed to, honey, I just need to rest. Girl, you know what? You sure do.
Right, because it's Tuesday.
Because you broke up this morning.
Right.
Because you're still here,
Because you birthed a baby 14 years ago.
right? Because you just
Like
in
not last week, not this morning. 14 years ago.
because you're in the world, and every human being deserves exquisite care, right? So I took this sabbatical, and while I was on the sabbatical, I was being encouraged to do something creative. Again, I was frightened. I was like, I don't know if I do something creative, are people even going to want to listen to this thing? Like, no one's going to want to listen to these. I want to hear the stories of Black women. I want to talk to people who look like me and be like, What was your menopause story? Did anybody talk to you about menopause? What's your journey right now? Like, how are you exploring rage and grief and love and pleasure and creativity? Like, what's up? No one's gonna want to listen to this. I did it anyway, right? Did it anyway. Here we are. We're about to be in season 4. The response has been overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly positive. It does help to have people who are going to walk with you.
Right.
You don't need a lot. You can have a dedicated 2 or 3 who are like, what are we doing? I got you. And I feel like I was really gifted with, like, in the beginning, like 2 or 3 people who were like, what you getting ready to do, Omi? I got you. And I was like, okay, because I don't know what I'm doing. They were like, don't worry about it.
Nice.
We can figure it out. So I would say to anyone who's listening to this, if they feel like I don't know if I have the confidence to do a certain thing, or I there's some fear that kind of like walks with me, like there's an opportunity for you to sit down with that fear and be like, where'd you come from? And how can I invite you to leave? The best eviscerator of fear is love and safety. Love and safety. If you feel loved, whatever fear that comes up, you know it can go away.
Yep.
You feel powerful enough to interrogate it, to be curious about it, and to invite it to leave. This is not actually a real thing. I'm just hungry right now. Or this is not really a real thing. This is from when I was 16. And the 16-year-old me, she's loved and she's safe.
Right.
And I just need to remind her that, baby, you're safe. Just don't go away. Come sit with me. We get ready to do this thing. I'm a little nervous. It's okay to be nervous, but we don't have to be fearful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you were talking, and I love the idea that love and safety just will knock out fear. So of course you already talked about Marvel. So I'm thinking about a superhero though, having that moment of knocking out this fear and
Yeah.
banishing this darkness. But
Yeah.
also what came to mind. So one of my daughters, both of them, their
Mhm.
favorite movies and shows
Mhm.
and live action dance shows is The Wiz.
Love The Wiz. Oh my gosh. The Wiz is one of my
Literally,
absolute favorite things.
we were watching it last night. And we watched it, like we've been watching The Wiz. It's like it's re-upped in their spirit. So we
Mhm.
watched the Wiz movie,
Mhm.
and then we watch the Wiz live with Shanice Williams
Yes.
and Uma Maka.
Mhm.
And then we watch my daughter's dance studio, her very first production that she ever did with them, not a recital, but this is the production that
Mhm.
they actually took the National Black Theater Festival that year, was
Mhm.
The Wiz.
Mhm.
And so we have the Dancing Wiz, which is that Wiz. We
Yeah.
have Wiz Live, which is the green Wiz because that's what color the box is. And then the blue Wiz with Diana Ross.
That's right.
Sometimes they acknowledge MJ, sometimes they don't.
Right.
But it's always Diana.
That's right.
But in the version of Wiz Live, Uma Maka says this at the end.
Mhm.
And she says, she talked about, being Dorothy being watched over and how she had, always could go home. She she had that choice. And she said, I always felt like, somebody was covering me and somebody was watching me. And her answer, she was playing Glinda, the good witch. And her
No,
answer was, that's the power of love, baby.
that's the power of love. That, one
Love is, oh,
Love is everything. One of my absolute favorite songs in The Wiz is Being Lion.
yep.
Because it is that he's like, you have it in you. Be who you are. No matter what you've been told you are, no matter whatever fear you're moving with, you are a lion. Be a lion. You
And,
got it.
okay. So let's talk about full circle in this moment.
All right.
So we're getting ready to walk into our 8th conference for the Refining Life. Very
Mm-hmm.
first conference was me doing it scared,
Sure.
receiving this vision from God. I was sitting at my desk at work,
Mm-hmm.
and literally in a tornado warning, everybody was gone except for me and the janitorial staff.
Mm-hmm.
My husband and my mother said, you better not leave that building.
Mm-hmm.
You are not driving home. You sit there until this thing passes.
So
And so at that time, I was, working on my master's in divinity, and I was, a still pretty fresh school administrator. Well, not administrator, but principal. I had been at Kestrel for 2 years at that point.
Mm-hmm.
just sitting there and typing up some things. And I just closed my eyes for a second, and literally the refining life came to me. It was not called the refining life. It was the refinery at that time, but it was the refining life, what it's going to be. And this was in March. And that whole trickle of events, like when I met you, I was still going into the process of saying a full yes to the refining life.
Yes, a full yes.
A full yes. I was partially there. I like, hey, guys, I think I don't know. No, it wasn't that late yet. So I hadn't even gotten the official name. I probably met you in May.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first conference was that same September. So understanding doing it scared with no money, I had nothing except for a vision.
That's right.
And it was, doing it scared. But the very first conference, our very first keynote speaker was Dr. Dawn Tafari Hicks.
Oh, I know Dawn.
Isn't she amazing?
She is amazing.
Well, she was our very first keynote.
Yeah.
And part of what, so she opened and closed the speech with Just Fine by Mary J. Blige. And the difference in the response to it after was a whole different thing.
Sure.
But a part of the core of her speech was based around Be a Lion. And this essence of being exactly who you are and understanding that you are brave and strong.
You are brave and strong, even when you're scared. Even when you're scared. Michelle Lanier sang Be a Lion to me when I was in the car heading home to New Bern after Hurricane Florence.
Oh.
Sat on my hometown, and we had what was called a 500-year flood. And my eldest sister had been unhoused by the storm. She had to be boat evacuated.
I remember this. This blows me away that I have really known you this long, because I remember you reaching out to the community and getting when you went on sabbatical.
Yes, coming in speaking at school. You had me come speak at the school. We were collecting all that stuff. Yeah, and I was headed home, and this was going to be my first time laying my eyes on New Bern after the storm. And I just got really emotional. And Michelle Lanier called me because she's very obedient to spirit. And she called me and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm in the car. We got all the stuff together. We getting ready to get on the road." She said, "I need you to put your earbuds in. I need you to listen to me." I said, "Okay." And she started singing. Be a Lion. I'm in the car, snot crying. And she said, "Omi, be a lion. Go home and be a lion, baby." I said, okay. All right. Got myself together. Let's go. Let's go. And that's kind of my mode is like, I will get to a place of resistance. And in that place of resistance, I'm meeting myself. Sometimes it's a different age, a different version of myself. And, and she will show up. I'm like, what do we need to do? As opposed to me banishing her, judging her, shaming her, engaging in negative self-talk with her, that only makes her more fearful.
Right.
Then I say, okay, why are you here? Okay. All right. Come on, girl. We going together.
Right.
Let's be a lion. Let's
be a lion.
You have to somehow incorporate for people who are not whiz people. The interesting thing, the very first recital that we did when we lived in Maryland was the whiz.
Wow. See, those connections. See, that's what community and relationship does. You don't even know. So, and I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but I have to talk about this. So, in my other non-refining life, the very first thing I do when I work with leaders is to have them deal with that. THAT, and it's your total, honest, awesome truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had, many people who say, I want to, throw this old person away. I'm not that person. I'm throwing them away. And I always tell them, well, you bring them back, because there's some things you're getting ready to repeat because you threw that old person away, because you threw away your history. You've thrown away your experiences. You're going to, not even know how to deal with parts of life. And you won't face them head on because you've lost part of you. Could you call him or her back in the room?
Back, because we are not dissecting ourselves. We're about reunification.
Right.
It's the reunification of all of your avatars. All of your avatars. And the avatar that you decide you're going to throw away will be the avatar that will continue to return to you. Because they want what? Love and safety.
And that is what community and relationships can help us to acquire. Hence, Be a lion.
Be a lion.
Dorothy did it. Your
You
friend
did
did
it.
it. You've done it. Dawn did it.
Dawn did it. Yeah.
That's sometimes it is your relationship was created for a moment such as that, or a
Absolutely.
moment such as this. We need each other.
We do.
We need each other. So, Omi, as we are wrapping up on our time, if
Sure.
there was one thing, just one thing, whether it's something you've already said or something you hadn't had a chance to touch,
Right.
that you wanted people to know about and to understand and to hold on to about community and relationships as it relates to us now,
Sure.
what would that one thing be?
I think the one thing I would want people to hold on to is the importance of being very curious about all of who you are and being very curious about the people that you're building relationships with. And not curious from a place of benign observation, but a curiosity that activates you, you know,
Yes.
activates you to ask questions, activates you to lean in. Sorry. Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. You are alive. That is a signal that you are alive and breathing. Let me tell you, I have to keep let me not show the brand. They're not giving me any sponsorship.
No.
I have to keep water or tea or something right by me because I also have every seasonal allergies, not just like spring. Some people just have spring and fall. I have winter, spring, summer, fall allergies, and they will catch me
Yeah,
real
I
quick.
also have a cat that's getting on my nerves right now. But long story short, be curious and let that curiosity activate you in a positive way, right? Let that curiosity help you push against that fear. Let that curiosity invite you to reunify with all the different parts of yourself, to take those risks with love and safety.
Yes.
Lion.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Omi, thank you so much for being with us today. I am looking forward to September when we will have Omi in person. I'm just going, Lord, please. I'm praying that it's in person. If it's not, then we will be in the virtual space, but we will be having a beautiful gala on September 23rd to honor every single one of our women
We're
of refinement.
We're claiming this. So I need everybody watching this
Yes.
and all of the good energy.
Yes.
We will
September
be
23rd, we will be in person. And then on September 24th, we will be together for our eighth. Woo, that feels so good to say. Our eighth annual Refining the Mind Women's Conference, also in person. And Omi and all of our wonderful women of refinement who you will meet throughout the year will be a part of a beautiful and special panel. So we're going to invite you throughout this month and throughout the rest of the year, leading all the way to September. If there are any questions, ideas, thoughts, concerns, anything you want us to talk to them about in September, make sure you let us know. But once again, Omi, thank you so much. Thank you for serving as our first honoree of the year.
It's such an honor. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. And everybody out there, if you haven't been observing our social media throughout the month, we've been honoring Omi all month long. And we will continue until the 28th. And when we get ready to introduce you to another beautiful woman of refinement. Omi, thank you again for being here with us.
Thank you.
Everybody out there.
Thank you for chiming in, y'all, and checking us out. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Love you always. And everybody keep your mind refined.